Hey everybody, welcome back to Castle Farms Homestead. Hey, I've been thinking a lot about chickens lately. Of course, as we've been preparing our homestead and what we're planning on doing and everything else, it's been a lot on my mind. And um, really chickens, it seems to be, have been all the rage right now. A lot of people are getting into chickens. In fact, it's getting harder and harder to find them sometimes. But it should be. And I think that's wonderful. I think it's great that people are jumping on the bandwagon, getting into raising their own chickens and all. There's a lot going on in the world. Recently, we had shortages of things from the pandemic, and people are worried about that. I don't blame them. So I'm glad they're getting into it. Plus, there's been inflation, and heck, the price of eggs right now is crazy. The price of everything is crazy right now. So it's really a good thing. I also think that a lot of people are just getting into it because they are concerned about what they're eating. They want to eat healthy. They want to know what they're putting in their bodies, and they want to know how it's processed and all that kind of stuff. They know that some things are processed not the way they necessarily want them to be, or raised not the way they want them to be. So I think it's really a good thing. Good thing that people are doing it. And I think that the word's out really that chickens are fun. I know we found that out to be a little not sure if Bobbi was going to like doing chickens when we first got them, but since we've got them, she's loved them. We've all loved them. Yeah, they're fun. I mean, we find ourselves sometimes just standing out watching them because they're entertaining. So they're fun to do and easy to take care of, really. So glad to see that they're doing that. Plus, I think there's more and more people that are choosing to become a homesteader of some kind and wanting to raise all their own things as best they can anyway. And that's why we're doing what we're doing, and that's why we're doing this channel, is we're hoping to help people to become more self-reliant, self-sufficient. And so with that in mind, as far as a homesteader and and chickens and being self-reliant and self-sufficient, today's video we ask the question, well, what is the best homesteader chicken? I thought if we are going to be talking about the best homemade
Best homemade chickens.
best homemade chicken. So
Homegrown.
so I brought Bobbi along. Say hi, Bobbi.
Hello.
Hi, Bobbi. I thought if we're going to be talking about the best homestead chicken, that we ought to get Bobbi involved here too. If we're going to talk about the best homestead chicken, we've got to talk about what our goals are for having chicken. And of course, we want to lay eggs. Well, we want our chickens to lay eggs, not us. You want to lay eggs,
No.
especially if they're large and you have to do it often. But that's what we want. We want to lay eggs. No, we want our chickens to lay eggs large and often. And there's several breeds out there that do that. You've got Leghorns and Rhode Island Red, Australorp, Orpingtons, and others.
Our other goal is that we want to have meat because we want meat for the freezer and for on the dinner table. And there's just a few birds for meat. You can eat your egg layers, but that's not always the best idea. They don't always have a ton of meat on them. Some are small, some are big. And so there's basically two breeds that are really popular for meat, and it's the Cornish Cross and the Freedom Ranger. Something else you want to consider is their temperament. Some are more skittish, some are more friendly, some are actually a little bit aggressive. And then also what they look like. We like to get different colors of eggs. That's really fun. We like to have pretty chickens, and some are prettier than others. So there's a couple other things to consider.
For us, as one of our big goals, because we're homesteader wannabes, we want to have systems that are self-sustaining. So that means we need to be able to breed our chickens and have them lay eggs, hatch the eggs, raise those chicks.
Egg layers, you can hatch your own. That's pretty easy. People have been doing it for centuries, really. Meat birds, it's not quite as easy to do. Most of the meat birds now are hybrids. They've been bred to be um, really large and have a lot of meat on them. One of the things that I don't love about Cornish cross is they are bred so that they are old really fast. So you need to butcher them when they're 8 to 12 weeks old. And if you don't do it then, they actually start having geriatric issues like heart attacks and their legs break because they're not strong enough to support them. That's why I don't really love Cornish cross. And if you try to breed them, you don't know what you're going to get because they're hybrids. So you don't know what the offspring will be. It's going to be a toss up.
So if meat birds aren't available to breed in case of an emergency, if you weren't able to buy your meat birds, then you'll have to eat your egg layers, which you can do. That's great. I mean, people do it all the time throughout history. But not all egg layers are the same. Just as certain breeds will lay bigger eggs or smaller eggs more often, not as often. Also, they're bigger or smaller, and they may have more meat or less meat on them. Going back to our goals of wanting to have a meat provided, that we wanted to have a chicken that produces lots of meat and in a fairly short amount of time, we've got to consider that. Going back to our goals and wanting to have a chicken that lays lots of eggs and produces lots of meat, if meat birds aren't available, then we've got to do what's called a dual purpose chicken.
And some of those are Delaware, Brahmas, Wyandottes, Buff Orpingtons, Rhode Island Red. There's a lot of them. And there's a lot of discussion about what would be the best.
So as Bobbi said, that there's lots of discussion as to which is the best dual purpose chicken bird.
Discussion and maybe even controversy.
Yeah, controversy. Yeah. Which is good because otherwise we probably wouldn't be doing this video, right? So, and some of you may not even known about all this. This is amazing. This is good stuff.
Get in the comments. Tell us which dual purpose bird you think is best.
If you don't know chickens, you may not have even known there's so much to know about chickens because we didn't when we started off.
That's for sure.
I just thought there were chickens.
Chickens.
I never even paid attention.
And they lay eggs. And they can be different colors. How about that? That's awesome. So, anyway, so the purpose of this video is to tell you what we think is possibly the best homestead chicken. Of course, that's always debatable. But this particular breed, you may, or probably more so, may not have heard about. It's not because it hasn't been around. In fact, it's been around a long time and is actually very well known around the world. And we'll talk about that more in a second. But it's just recently been more and more popular here in the United States.
And we are talking about the American breast.
For those of you who haven't heard of the breast chicken, that is breast and not breast. And it's spelled B-R-E-S-S-E. The American breast, it originally came from poulet de Bresse, which I don't know if I'm saying that right or not. Probably not. It's French. But it means chicken of Bresse, which is a region in France. And the breast chicken is widely known around the world as the most delicious and tastiest bird in the world. And that's because of its genetics. When it eats its food and metabolizes that food, it causes a marbling effect in the meat. And the farmers who raise those chickens accentuate that by finishing those chickens over the final 2 to 4 weeks with corn and milk. And that helps to increase the fat. That's why they taste so good, and that's why they're known as the Queen of Chickens, the Chicken of Kings. And in fact, in France, you can pay up to $200 for one chicken. That's crazy. But because of that, also, they are very highly regulated and as to who and how they're raised. And in fact, in 1957, they were registered as protected designation of origin. Only chickens from that specific region, from those specific farmers, raised in that specific way, can be called breasts.
So is that a European thing?
I think so.
An exclusive area? I know they do the same thing with some cheeses and
Champagne.
and balsamic vinegar and
Yeah.
different things. So it must be a European thing.
And that's why in 2011, Greenfire Farms imported breast chickens to America, began raising them and calling them American breasts.
You might ask, what's so great about the American breast? So as far as egg production goes, a really great egg layer will lay eggs 5 to 6 times a week. And those eggs are large to extra large. They're not quite that good, but they lay about 4 to 5 times a week, which is still good. But the eggs are not as big, they're medium to large, which is similar to the Rhode Island Red or the Sussex or the Australorp. But that's still more than a Brahma or a Orpington lays. So egg production is not fabulous, but it's pretty good. And then one of the really great things is they start laying eggs earlier than a typical other breed of chicken. So if you've ever raised eggs or raised chicks, you're so excited to get that first egg. Well, with most chickens, it's 5 to 6 months before they lay the first egg.
Yeah.
And with these girls, they start laying at 4 to 4.5 months. So you're getting eggs a month, 6 weeks earlier than you would otherwise. And when you're paying for feed and everything, and your goal is to get eggs, it's great if you get eggs earlier.
Yeah.
Especially they slow down in the winter, so you get a few good months of egg laying before then.
The other goal is to have meat, and this is where the American breasts really stand out. They get to butcher size in about 4 to 5 months, which is early for a typical dual purpose bird. And they weigh 5 to 7 pounds. Now, that may be a little bit smaller than some dual purpose birds, but their meat to bone ratio is high because they have thin, delicate bones. So you're really getting more meat per bird. And of course, as I said before, the flavor is said to be much superior.
So right now we are testing out raising American breasts. So at the beginning of June last year, we got 25 baby chicks, and we raised them. And in September, I think it was, we butchered the roosters and most of the roosters. And now we have 9 hens and 2 roosters, and then we're planning on incubating and hatching some eggs so that we can be sustainable and keep that loop going. And we're going to bring you along on the ride of that. We've never done that before, so that should be hopefully interesting and hopefully good.
And hopefully we'll be able to do that while building a homestead at the same time.
Exactly.
So we'll see how that all works out. But this may or may not be your answer. We're going to try it, see if it's our answer. We also have other plans for chickens as well, and we'll tell you more about that in another video. But whether or not this is for you, that's up to you. Depends upon what your goals are, what you want to do. But still, we highly recommend that you try to raise your own chickens, whether it's just for eggs or you go start raising them for meat. If you've already been doing eggs and you want to do meat, give it a shot. And I think it'll be a great experience for you. It's been great for us so far. Yeah. So come along for the ride. You'll see other videos. It'll be fun and exciting. At least we hope. With Bobbi here for the comedic value, it will be great. But anyway, come on back next time here on Castle Farms Homestead. And as you progress with us, you can become
more self-reliant, and get one step closer to your homesteading goals.
One step closer. That's right.